Emperor Palpatine. You know the guy, right? The cackling, the force lightning, the ultimate big bad. But have you ever stopped to ask, how does someone become that? That's what we're digging into today. We're going to peel back the layers of the Emperor to find the boy, Sheev, and figure out what on earth happened to turn him into the Dark Lord of the Sith. And this line, it just sets the scene perfectly. The story of this massive galaxy-spanning evil, it didn't start with a bang. It wasn't some huge dramatic event. Nope, it began as a quiet whisper, a slow burn. It's a psychological story about a lonely kid living in a world that looked perfect on the outside but felt completely fake to him.
Okay, so let's rewind all the way back to the beginning. We're on Naboo and we meet a young Sheev Palpatine. And right from the get-go, his whole life is this massive internal conflict. It's a battle between the world everyone told him existed and the world he could actually feel around him.
I mean, try to put yourself in his shoes. You're a kid on Naboo, right? It's supposed to be this paradise of stunning beauty and perfect harmony, but you don't buy it. From your very first memories, you have this gut feeling that it's all just an act, a performance. For Sheev, that was his reality. All that politeness, that order, it didn't feel real. It felt cold, calculated, just a set of rules and expectations. He basically came into this world convinced it was all a giant lie.
And this quote from his own father, Kosinga, man, it says it all, doesn't it? Palpatines are pillars. That tells you everything about the home he grew up in. This wasn't a warm, loving family. It was cold, a place where feelings were seen as a problem to be solved. And see, Sheev was born incredibly sensitive. He could pick up on people's hidden anger and jealousy. But instead of seeing that as a gift, his father saw it as a flaw, a weakness that needed to be stamped out.
So what happens when your own family is constantly telling you you're wrong for feeling things? Well, for Sheev, it drove him into total isolation. He was the kid who felt things too deeply, so they pushed him aside. His only escape, his only sanctuary was the family library. And you gotta ask, what's a lonely, rejected kid gonna read? He didn't care about Naboo's peaceful history, no. He dove headfirst into books about war, politics, how empires rise and fall. He was already looking for a different way of seeing the world, a system that actually matched the cold reality he was feeling. And all that time alone, it did more than just make him cynical. It turned into a kind of secret training ground. It's where he started to play with these abilities he had. First, maybe without even realizing what he was doing, but then it became very, very deliberate. Take this one incident. He's only 8 years old. There's a governess he can't stand. That's his obstacle. So he forms an idea, a plan. He uses his will, just a little unseen nudge of his mind, and a vase shatters. But here's the kicker, the most important part. He immediately breaks down and weeps. The performance is perfect. And for him, the real joy wasn't the broken vase. Oh no, it was the electrifying feeling of secretly bending the world to his will, and nobody ever knowing it was him.
That moment was a turning point. After that, his entire life was a performance. He became an expert at wearing masks. He was the perfect son, the brilliant student, whatever he needed to be. But underneath all those masks, his disgust for the world, for how simple and fake he thought everyone was, it was just building and building into this deep, quiet rage. Now, you can only keep that kind of pressure bottled up for so long, right? As he got older, hitting his teenage years, those quiet whispers of power inside him, they were about to get really loud. Yeah, when he hit 16, that was it. The dam broke. All of it. The years of faking it, the anger at his father, the crushing loneliness, it just exploded. It was like a psychic storm erupting out of him, a scream with no sound, but it was powerful enough to bend metal candlesticks and crack a window. And you know what he felt in that moment? Not fear, not at all. He felt this incredible, terrifying, but amazing rush of pure power. And that massive, uncontrolled blast of dark side energy, well, it was basically a signal flare, a giant "I'm here" sent out across the entire galaxy.
And guess what? Somebody saw that flare. Somebody who had been waiting and listening for a signal just like that for a very, very long time. And he was about to step right into Sheev Palpatine's life. So in comes this guy, Hago Damask. Looks like a regular wealthy banker, but he's actually the Sith Lord Darth Plagueis. He sets up a meeting with Sheev, and he asks him this one very specific question.
And this isn't just polite conversation, it's a test. It's the ultimate litmus test to see if this kid's mind works the way a Sith should. Is he all about balance, or does he want to tip the scales?
And Sheev's answer? Wow. He doesn't even hesitate. Balance is the lie of the mediocre. Can you imagine? For the very first time in his entire life, Sheev is talking to someone who actually gets it, who sees the world the same way he does. That was it. That was the moment. His fate was sealed. He just found his master. And the change was just immediate. It was so fast. Plagueis offered him everything he'd ever craved. He told him his power was real, that his cynical view of the world was correct, and he handed him the keys to finally unlock the person he always knew he was. Sheev walked away from his family, from Naboo, from his entire life, and he never once looked back. This is where Sheev's real education starts. But being a Sith apprentice, it's not just about learning cool new powers, it's about being completely broken down and rebuilt from the ground up by a dark, all-consuming philosophy. So Plagueis introduces him to the Sith code, and he doesn't teach it like some poem you memorize. He teaches it as a tool, a weapon. Every single line is a step designed to demolish the old Sheev. Peace is a lie means your anger is your fuel. Through strength I gain power. That's about learning how to manipulate people and systems. But that last line, through victory my chains are broken. Man, that one must have hit home. It was the promise of total, absolute freedom from every person and every rule that ever held him back.
But let's be real here. This was not some heartfelt teacher-student relationship. Not even close. It was all about using each other. Plagueis looked at Sheev and saw the perfect tool, a charming political weapon he could use for his grand plan. And Sheev, he looked right back at Plagueis and saw a doorway, a means to an end, a way to get the knowledge and power he needed to burn down the world that had cast him out.
And right there, that was Plagueis' biggest mistake, his fatal flaw. For all his supposed wisdom, all his power, he completely underestimated the kid he'd taken under his wing. He thought he was forging the perfect weapon. What he didn't get, until it was way too late, was that the weapon had a mind of its own, and ambitions that were even more ruthless than his. So, it all comes back to that big question, doesn't it? When you look at Palpatine's story, was that evil always inside him? Just a dark seed waiting for the right moment to grow? Or was the monster made? Was he built, piece by painful piece, by a family that shut him down and a world that rejected him, all because he was a boy who felt things a little too deeply? Maybe the real answer isn't one or the other, but somewhere in the shadows in between.